There's a quiet little lie that bathroom floors like to tell. From a standing height, with soft light coming through the window, the floor can look perfectly fine. It's only when you crouch closer, or when the late afternoon sun cuts low across the tile, that the truth shows itself, the cloudy haze over the surface, the darkened lines running between the tiles, that faint shadow creeping around the base of the toilet. And here is the part that catches folks off guard. A floor that looks dingy is almost never dirty in the way we picture dirt. It isn't loose crumbs and dust. It is a thin, clinging film made of dissolved minerals, dried soap residue, skin oils, and moisture-loving microbes that have quietly settled into the tiny pores of your tile and your grout. That single fact explains why scrubbing has failed you. You can press a brush into that floor until your shoulder burns, and you will move the film around without ever lifting it out. The discoloration stays because brushing doesn't dissolve buildup. It only rearranges it. What that film responds to is not muscle. It responds to the right ingredients, given a little time to do their work. And the freedom in that idea is the whole reason this channel exists. A clean home should not cost you your knees, your back, or a single dollar more than it has to. So let's walk through this the smart way, in the order that actually keeps you safe and gets the floor bright. Why your floor gave up before you did tile and grout are not the solid, sealed surfaces they appear to be. Grout especially is porous, a bit like a hard sponge made of cement. Every time the room fills with steam from a shower, moisture seeps into those pores, carrying dissolved minerals from your water and tiny droplets of soap and oil along with it. The water evaporates. The minerals and residue stay behind, hardening layer over layer. Over months and years, that is how a pale grout line turns gray, and how the area near the toilet picks up that yellow-brown shadow. It is buildup with a memory, and it needs to be coaxed out, not beaten out. The safety talk nobody gives you before a drop of any cleaner touches the floor. I want to talk about your lungs and your footing, because these matter more than the shine. Many of the heavy-duty bathroom cleaners on store shelves work by releasing strong fumes. For a younger person, those fumes are unpleasant. For an older adult, they can be a real hazard. As we age, our airways grow more sensitive, lung capacity naturally narrows, and conditions like asthma or COPD make harsh vapors genuinely risky. Bleach-based and ammonia-based products are the worst offenders. And combining the two, something that happens by accident more often than you'd think, can create a toxic gas. The whole approach in this video sidesteps that danger. Mild vinegar has a sharp smell that fades in minutes and never sits heavy in your chest. The second hazard is the floor itself once it's wet. A damp tile surface is one of the leading causes of falls in the home, and a fall at our age is not a small thing. So 3 rules. Every single time. Wear shoes or grippy non-slip socks. Never bare feet. Keep the exhaust fan running so the room dries faster. And work backward toward the door, so you are never reaching across a slick patch you've already cleaned. Hold on to these and the rest is easy. Know your floor before you clean it. This is where a lot of well-meaning advice goes wrong, and where I can save you from an expensive mistake. Not all bathroom floors are the same, and the cleaner that brightens one can ruin another. Most bathrooms have ceramic or porcelain tile. Ceramic is made from natural clay, shaped and fired in a kiln, then finished with a hard glaze on top. That glaze is the key. It forms a sealed shell that resists moisture and shrugs off mild acids. Porcelain is a close cousin, made from a denser, finer clay fired at a higher temperature. It absorbs almost no water at all, which makes it tougher and even more forgiving. For both of these, the method I'm about to share is a perfect match. The glaze protects the surface, while the cleaner goes after the grime sitting on top and in the grout. Natural stone is a different animal entirely, and you must treat it differently. Marble, travertine, limestone, And many slates are made largely of calcium carbonate, the same mineral as chalk and seashells. Vinegar is a mild acid. An acid eats calcium carbonate. Put vinegar on polished marble and it will etch the surface, leaving dull, rough spots that no amount of buffing brings back. So if your floor is natural stone, set the vinegar aside completely. For stone, you want a pH-neutral stone-safe cleaner and plain warm water. Nothing acidic. When in doubt about your floor, dab a drop of vinegar on a hidden corner. Wait a minute. And wipe. If it fizzes or dulls, it's stone. Switch methods. If nothing happens, you're on glazed tile and you're clear to go. Your $1 shopping list. Here's the shopping list. And I use that phrase loosely, because nearly all of this is already in your kitchen. You need plain white distilled vinegar, the kind under $1 a bottle. Not apple cider, not the fancy cleaning concentrate, just regular white. You need baking soda, the standard box from the baking aisle. You need ordinary dish soap, any brand, just a few drops worth. You need warm water. And for tools, you want a spray bottle, a flat microfiber mop or a long-handled soft scrub brush, and a few old towels for drying. Notice what every tool has in common: a long handle. Nothing here asks you to lower yourself onto a hard floor. That is the entire point of how we work in this community. The chemistry corner. What each ingredient really does. Let me group all the science in one place so it's clear. Because once you understand the why, you'll never need a memorized recipe again. Vinegar is the dissolver. That acetic acid reacts with the hard mineral deposits, limescale, water spots, the chalky crust around fixtures, and breaks them down so they let go of the surface. On glazed tile, this is its main job, and it's very good at it. Dish soap is the lifter. It's a surfactant, which simply means each tiny soap molecule has one end that grips water and another end that grips grease and oil. That's how it surrounds the body oils and the soapy film on your floor, loosens their hold, and lets them rinse away. 3 to 5 drops is plenty. More just leaves a film you'll have to rinse twice. Baking soda is the gentle scrubber and the deodorizer. As a fine powder, it works as a very mild abrasive, soft enough to lift staining without scratching glaze. And it's a natural odor absorber. It doesn't mask smells. It traps and neutralizes the acidic compounds that cause them, which is why that musty bathroom smell lifts along with the grime. Now, the honest truth about the famous fizz. When the vinegar hits the baking soda, the two react and bubble. That's carbon dioxide gas escaping. As they react, they also cancel each other out chemically. So the fizz is not some super-powered combined cleaner. What it is useful mechanical action. Thousands of little bubbles working their way into grout pores and physically nudging loosened gunk upward, doing the agitation your scrub brush used to do, without your arm. That's why we layer the steps rather than premixing everything in one jug. A bottle of vinegar and baking soda mixed together and left on a shelf is, within minutes, just salty water. Use them fresh, in sequence, and let each one do its own job. Master mixing. Into your spray bottle goes 1 cup of warm water, then half a cup of white vinegar, then 3 to 5 drops of dish soap. Cap it and give it one gentle swirl. Don't shake it into a foam. The warm water helps everything blend and speeds the reaction along. That's your whole solution, and it costs pennies a batch. Keep the box of baking soda separate and open, ready to sprinkle. Now we move through the cleaning and clear phases. I'll walk the floor with you, one stage at a time. In the natural order the job unfolds. Transformation phase number 1. Clear and dry sweep. We start by giving ourselves a clean canvas. Lift away anything resting on the floor, the bath mat, the scale, the wastebasket, the little stool. Then take a dry mop or a broom and run it across the whole floor to gather up loose hair and dust. Skip this and you'll regret it. Because the moment liquid meets loose hair, you get a gray paste smeared across your tile instead of a clean lift. This takes about 30 seconds and you don't need perfection. A general pass is enough. Loose debris off first. Then we wet the floor. Transformation phase number 2. Dust the baking soda with the floor swept and dry. Sprinkle the baking soda across it in a light, even layer. Think of seasoning a tray, not frosting a cake. Work it toward the grout lines as best you can, and give a little extra to the trouble zones, the ring around the toilet base, the corners, and the seam where the floor meets the wall. Those low edges are where moisture pools and buildup hides, so they earn the extra dusting. This is the step the rushing crowd skips, and it's exactly why their floors come out only half clean. The powder is already sitting in the pores, ready to scrub from the inside the instant the spray arrives. Transformation phase number 3. Mist the solution. Now lift your spray bottle and lay down an even mist across the powdered floor. You want it damp and glistening. Never flooded. A puddle just dilutes everything and takes longer to dry. As the mist lands, you'll hear and see that soft fizzing rise up. The vinegar is going after the mineral crust. The soap is wrapping up the oils, and those carbon dioxide bubbles are jostling the loosened grime free of the grout. Give the edges and the toilet base one more light pass of powder and mist, since they always need a touch more. Transformation phase number 4. The sit time. This is the phase where you do the least and the floor does the most. So let me tell you precisely what's happening down there while you rest, because understanding it is what makes you patient enough to let it work. Give it 3 to 4 minutes. Set a timer if you like. Down at the surface, on a scale far too small to see, the acid molecules in the vinegar are colliding with the hardened mineral deposits and breaking their bonds, turning a solid crust into something soft and rinsable. At the very same time, the soap surfactant molecules are sliding between the oily film and the tile, prying that greasy layer loose and holding it suspended in the liquid so it can't resettle. And those bubbles are still rising through the grout's pores, carrying the freed particles up toward the surface where your mop can reach them. None of this happens instantly. Pull the plug at 30 seconds and you'll wipe up grime that was halfway out and let the rest fall back. Those few minutes of doing nothing are not wasted time. They are the labor, performed by chemistry instead of your spine. Step out, wipe the counter, sit down, and let it run its course. If you've found these home shortcuts useful so far, the folks who follow along week to week tell me the same thing. Once they watched a floor brighten without a single knee on the tile, they understood why this little community keeps growing. You're welcome among them. Transformation phase number 5. Mop it away when the timer sounds. Take your microfiber mop or long-handled brush and glide it across the floor in long, easy strokes. The word to hold in your mind is glide, not scrub. You are not pressing or grinding. You're simply collecting the loosened grime and the spent solution and carrying it off the tile. The hard part is already finished. Move from the far wall back toward the door so you never step on a wet section behind you, and rinse your mop head in a bucket of clean warm water as you go, or swap to a fresh pad halfway through. If you meet one of those old, set-in stains in the grout that's lived there for years, resist the urge to attack it. Drop a pinch of baking soda right on the spot. Missed it. Wait a minute, and pass the mop over it again. 9 times in 10. That patience finishes the job your muscles never could. Transformation phase number 6. Rinse and dry. One last pass with plain, clean, warm water lifts away any leftover powder, which keeps a white chalky haze from drying onto darker tiles. Then dry the floor with old towels, or prop the door open and let the exhaust fan finish the job. Don't walk on it until it's fully dry. Back to that fall safety rule. From start to finish, that's about 4 minutes of active work and a few quiet minutes of letting the solution sit. No nailing, no fumes, no strain. What you'll see when it dries as the floor dries. The reward arrives. Grout lines that were dull and grayish come back noticeably lighter and fresher, not always snow-white, since that depends on the age of your grout, but cleaner than they've looked in a long while. The yellow shadow around the toilet base fades or disappears. The foggy film that flattened the shine on your tile is gone, and the surface catches the light again. The room smells clean in a soft, honest way that fades fast, no chemical sting left hanging in the air. And your knees and back feel exactly as they did when you started, because you never once got down on the ground. That is the whole difference. This was never about effort. It was about the right ingredients, in the right order, given a little time. Keeping it this way, a deep clean is wonderful, but the real prize is not having to do one often. A few small habits stretch the results for weeks. Once a week, mix equal parts vinegar and water in a spray bottle. Mist the floor, wait a minute, and mop. 2 minutes, and buildup never gets a foothold. After every shower, run the exhaust fan. Humidity is the fuel that lets mildew and soap film take hold, so a drier room stays cleaner on its own. Every couple of weeks, sprinkle a little baking soda into the grout lines before your weekly mist to keep those lines bright and odor-free. And the smallest habit of all carries the most weight. When you spot a drip or a splash, wipe it the same day. A fresh mark lifts in seconds. A dried, set in one takes 15 minutes next month. Keep these up and your full deep clean drops to once every few weeks. And each one starts from a cleaner baseline. So there it is, a bright, fresh bathroom floor for about $1. With no scrubbing, no fumes, and nothing in the bottle you can't pronounce. If you give this a try, come down to the comments and tell me what your floor looked like before and after. I read every one, and your results are the best part of my week. Coming up, I'll show you how to deep clean the whole toilet, inside and out. With these very same dollar store staples, you won't want to miss it. Tap the bell so it finds you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, be gentle with your body, and remember, a clean home doesn't take hard work. It takes smart work.